Move orders are extremely important. I got tired of playing so many games in, say, the Slav or Classical Queen's Gambit that, say, probably about 10 years ago I began playing the Catalan. And what I found compared to the typical slash QGD or Slav is that black will often make these moves which look reasonable, but they're losing out of the get-go. And I'm playing against a 2300 rated opponent in this game, and they're going through the motions, and here already we have a situation where the move order is not right to play d takes c4. Go, well, what's the problem here? Can't I take the pawn? Well, I'm going to go queen c2, and if you try to hold on to it, I'm going to go a4, and then I'm going to start playing against this bishop pin with knight e1. You must go knight d5, and if your break is the natural c5 later, this is already becoming an issue for your development. So say, for instance, if takes, knight takes d3. This is very, very easy play for white, but black's development is not natural. You got a pawn, but how much is a pawn worth, objectively? In the main game, after d takes c4, this is one of the most common mistakes I see from players that have learned the structure, but they don't have a deeper knowledge of the opening. They don't have any memory markers following up, or they're just like, okay, I'm just going to develop my pieces. Queen c2, and there was no move to defend the pawn. So with classical openings, you typically have a pawn maintained in the center, so your opponent won't take the center and kick your pieces around. That space is worth quite a lot. So we'll see in this game the typical plan when your opponent just gives you the center in the Catalan. So I'm going to take the pawn. Now let's work on getting some space. All right, I want to play e4 at some point, so knight c3, better than pushing the knight to d2, as a c1 bishop would be locked in. Don't want to hang my queen, so let's go ahead and drop her back to d3. Now knight d to b5. And this is already kind of an interesting moment because I played a human move here. The engine's like, you got the center, boss, take it, e4, get that tempo. But in my mind, I'm looking at the position, I'm going, okay, he's cramped, his bishop on c8's bad. If I allow trades, that's going to make his life easier. He has less to think about. So I'm going to refuse the trade first. Speculative move. But it's not exactly trivial to try to deal with. This goes b6. Well, if I go e4, you could go knight b4 followed by bishop a6. And I don't like that. So we're just going to stop that. a3. No knight b4 for you. You go a5, so you're threatening bishop a6. Want to play e4 anyway. You can't stop me forever. I'm just getting rid of your little tricks. Now I'm hitting the c-pawn. Running out of ideas. So I've got time before c5 is going to get here. e4. Now where's that knight going? So I had to waste time in order to put you in this type of bind. One move fixes my problem. How many moves to fix yours? Don't give your opponent the center. This is what the position looks like. So knight b5, you're still trying to trade. Rook d1, very reasonable here, but I was still in this mindset of, nuh-uh. So I went knight a4. And c5 is the better way to go, but pawn structure is going to get crippled. My opponent decides to take on d4. So, if you're figured out yourself, calculate type of player, now's a good time to pause the video and figure out what is best for white in this position. Well, we got to deal with the knight first. And it's interesting because I feel strongly about bishop e3 because of the x-ray on the b6 pawn. The engine wants to move the rook off of the e-file in order to gain some time and then grab the pawn that way. But I give you full credit if you liked bishop e3 like I did. Now queen c4 was played. And I'm starting to hear that American Idol reject song from back in the day. She had a bad day. It's happening. We're going to trade. Get that little fork. And now we need to simplify the win and make our life easy. So let's go ahead and grab the rook. Let's begin the next phase of the game. You're winning, but you need to stop opponent's counterplay. He can't attack you, doesn't have any good squares for pieces. You just trade down equally, simplify the win. What's a good move to start this process? It's very easy to just be lazy and go, all right, yep, I'm going to put my rooks on the C and D file and hope for the best. Wait for something to happen here. Maybe play bishop c5 or something. Well, my worst piece is the bishop on g2. And the bishop on b5 is anchoring to that c6 pawn. I want to get rid of that, but if I play bishop f1, immediately I'll hang my e-pawn. I like the placement of my bishop on e3, so I don't want to move him yet. It's very flexible on e3 to go to the king side or the queen side. I'm just going to go f3 first. Takes away the forward squares of the knight, and I can just drop the bishop back to f1. Which I do. Now on rook b8, you're trying to bother my b-pawn. Well, I'm going to take, and I've got time, if you took with the rook, to just simply play rook e2. So now, I see that your rook is supporting a b4 push. I'm going to go bishop f4. Let's test your rook. Okay, since you left the back rank, let's go ahead and play rook ac1. This is going to get some time because I'm threatening major back rank issues for black. Well, we're going to go there anyway because we have more flexibility from the back rank. And now rook c7. Hard to avoid the trade. Now knight d7. Only chance at counterplay is making it work on the queen side. Our rook's not doing anything. Let's go ahead and get the rook involved. Like I said, only chance at counterplay is going after those pawns. So let's make sure there's no weaknesses. You want to trade? Cool. I'm all about the trading business. Now it's rook versus knight, and the knight doesn't have an easy way to get to the base pawn. If you can't get to the base pawn, nothing you can do. f5. Well, he could make a target there, so let's go ahead and take and keep these pawns doubled. Now rook b8. Even in the event of knight d3, when I capture on b5, I'm still covering b2. No problems. Knight d4. Oh no. I'm losing a pawn. Not too concerned. No more checks. No more problems. And my opponent had enough, as he fully believes that I'm simply going to push that a-pawn up the board until it promotes, and I'm going to win the game. So, moral of the story, don't mix and match Catalan variations when you're playing black. Know when to take on c4, because it is critical to understand what you can and can't get away with. I've won many, many games like this because my opponents don't understand the right time to take on c4. So make sure if you're playing these positions with either color, you know what not to do with black and you know how to exploit it with white. Hopefully this game showed you how to do that. Thanks for joining in.